Well, the fact is that the Western countries, they are they are confronting a very difficult situation. First of all, they have their nuclear arms that they are not yet ready to get rid of it, as they should have done it before, even according to NPT. The other problem is the problem of Israel. We know that Israel has plenty of nuclear weapons, and nobody is anxious about that, even though that during the NPT review conference, there has been the decision to hold a conference in 2012, that means in 2 years' time. In 2 years' time, to hold a conference to discuss the matter of Israel, not Israel, but a nuclear-free zone in the Middle East. Now, everybody knows that if in the Middle East there is only one country who has nuclear weapons, and that is Israel. Of course, I do not know what in 2 years' time, what would be happen. The Americans would certainly try to get rid of the question and to leave Israel unpunished as it is right now, and they would hold their nuclear weapons.
Washington's new unilateral sanctions against Iran came right on the eve of the 22nd anniversary of the downing of the Iranian passenger airliner, flight number 655 by American Navy, killing all the 290 people on board. The Iranians have marked the 22nd anniversary of the U.S. downing of an Iranian passenger jet with a ceremony at the site where the plane crashed. Family members of the 290 people killed in the incident were among those who gathered in Persian Gulf waters on Saturday, where they laid flowers in memory of Flight 655 victims. The Iranian Students News Agency says President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad delivered a message in which he said the tragic human catastrophe was not an understandable incident. The USS Vincennes shot down the passenger plane on July 3, 1988, shortly after it took off from the Iranian city of Bandar Abbas for Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. The U.S. said it mistook the airliner for a hostile Iranian fighter jet.
In the end, the United States paid compensation, but refused to acknowledge responsibility. President George Bush, the senior, actually said something which should go down in history. He said, "I will never apologize for the United States of America, no matter what the facts are." I mean, that's a pretty strong statement. In other words, we don't let the facts get in the way of our policy. And, so we're in a really frightening situation where, the lessons of that particular incident don't appear to have been learned. The American sailors, the Navy people, were given, awards as heroes for their actions that day, killing all those civilians. The U.S. has never apologized for it. Iran, of course, I don't believe has apologized for the hostage crisis either. So we have, and not that the two are the same. I mean, it wasn't, Iran didn't kill over 200 Americans there. So, these incidents are not the same, but sometimes they're spoken of in the same way because they speak to the lack of communication between the two sides, the lack of understanding between the two sides, and a deliberate flouting, if you will, of whatever the facts may be for our own policy objectives, or so we want to look good.
So President Obama signs off on sanctions, and President Ahmadinejad says, well, go ahead and sanction yourself. P5+1 says the door is still open for diplomacy. The Iranian president sets conditions and says not until after August. What's next?
Well, I don't see any prospects for a new set of discussions or dialogue with West, because we had it. We had it so many times during the last 6 or 7 years' time. We had it and nothing came out of it. And that means the West has never been in a position to suggest something which would be interesting for Iran. And Iran, of course, 2 years ago, has come with their own suggestion, which is reasonable, and there has been no proper answer to that. That means it's a kind of dialogue of depths. each one talks for himself and the other doesn't hear it.
Well, I think what I see next is the unseen, the unexpected, the unpredicted, which is likely to occur. Some incident, maybe a provocation, maybe a real incident, where there's some sort of conflict, on the high seas, some sort of incident leading to either death or the arrests of Iranians or Americans, which will crank this whole issue up. Back in the United States, back in the days of the Spanish-American War, this was 1900. One of the top publishers of a tabloid press said in America, said, "You give me the pictures and I'll give you the war." Because once you inflame public opinion, once you excite people, once you upset them, once you stoke their fears, the likelihood of people acting irrationally and unpredictably is higher.
I see no prospect for a new set of discussions with the West. Now, until Iran has taken major decisions, one of those major decisions, according to me, is that Iran should get out of the NPT. This is the first thing to do in Iran, because we are suffering from the inspections, we are suffering from the West. Now, we do not get anything out of NPT, we should get out of it, leave it aside. Now, when we are free of the NPT and the pressures of the agency and the Security Council and so on, then maybe they can start to talk to us. We would have a stronger position to talk to the West when we are free from the NPT. But now that we are in, they put pressure through the inspectors, they send spies in Iran, they put conditions on this, on that, and so on. Then we spend our time to answer their questions, and without no result. It has taken us 7 years to do that with no result. I think if there is a perspective to discuss with the West, is that, first of all, we have to free ourselves from the NPT, and then we'll sit down and say, what are you telling us? That's all.
Well, thank you for watching. Always watch out for the fine print right here on Press TV with me, Amir Arfa.